Before today's video starts, I want to mention that according to YouTube statistics, only about 23% of all the people that watch my videos are actually subscribed. If you end up liking today's video, please consider subscribing. After all, it's free and you can always change your mind and enjoy the video. I have a Patreon now, it's down there in the description. There are quite a few tiers, go check it out. It will help me out a lot if you decide to support me. On to the video then. A lot of you people have been wondering what my point of view is with using something like LibreOffice, or why you should consider actually using LibreOffice over something like Microsoft Office. So that's what I wanted to discuss in today's video. It's a bit of a different style because that's a new thing I'm trying. I have a script that I'm just going to read and to get my points across, and I have sort of like a voiceover over certain things. But let's get to the topic at hand. So the topic is actually LibreOffice versus versus Microsoft Office, and why I switched about, I think it was like 4 years ago, my journey of switching to it and why you may consider switching to it. So let me just first start off with the story and then go to the points. So my personal journey with LibreOffice was a bit of a mixed bag, I really wasn't thinking much of it. I was using Microsoft Office up until I think it was the first year of high school, where our teachers were like, hey, you don't even have to use Microsoft Office, you can use something called LibreOffice. And we were like, what is that? Like, we never knew what that was. And after learning what it was, we actually started using it a lot more, which was really cool. And I fell in love with it pretty much immediately. I was forcing myself to make presentations with it, to write all my like essays and such on it, and it like works. It's a really solid editor which I now use like a lot of the time. I actually use it to write scripts now, which is really cool since it's integrated into Linux. So yeah, let's go to the points actually. So the first thing that might catch your eye is the value prospect of LibreOffice. The reason being that LibreOffice pretty much has no price tag associated with it at all. You don't have to pay for it at all. You can, however, contribute, and I would highly suggest that you do so. I personally contributed about $20 to them because I think that their software is amazing, so that's why I did that. It's also like regularly maintained and developed over the years, so it's a really solid piece of software. A lot of the features that you might need from a Office suite are already integrated into LibreOffice, so it really makes it pretty much versatile and powerful as a set of programs that you can use to get over your academic struggles, compared to like Microsoft Office, which has some newer programs, for example OneNote, which doesn't have a equivalent yet as of recording this video, so it's something that you may want to consider. While there are many word processors and cheap or free programs even that you can use, and they try to imitate the full Office suite, a lot of them are pretty much not comparable compared to LibreOffice, because LibreOffice is one of the many programs that I've seen that are just really up there on par, if not better than Microsoft Office. In my opinion, it's much better, so that's why I use it. But again, your mileage may vary. If you think about it, the value is pretty much truly impressive, in particularly in advertisement, because it's from the open source community, and it pretty much shows how great of an application you can get even when it's free. You can download it right now and use it. You can test it out. If you don't like it, you can uninstall it. There's no fees, nothing at all, and it's something truly amazing. One thing to realize is it has a dedicated developer base. So one of the coolest things is that while LibreOffice is free, it's not some half-hearted project. It's a project of a lot of people working in the industry really hard, trying to get a word processor or a pretty much an office suite that you can use to replace even Microsoft Office. I wanted to try and recommend it to quite a few companies to try and use it, and they were using it for a while, and they switched back because it has some really neat feature comforts compared to LibreOffice. So that's that. Microsoft Office has integration with the cloud, for example. So if you really need that, the only option that you have right now, I think, is the ability to upload your files and sync them across Google Drive, but I'm not really sure. I've never used it. I learned that recently because somebody mentioned it to me, which sounds really cool. However, it's not like you have to be limited to just what comes out of the box. Now, I can work with the out-of-box experience just fine, but you can actually extend it with extensions. You can add more power and versatility to this suite, which is really, really amazing. You can pretty much make a identical or comparable version of Microsoft Office that is free and gets a lot of the job done, if not even better than regular Office. Now, when it comes to it may not seem like a big deal, but pretty much since apps are built to, when it comes to software, it is built for imitating a other piece of software. There was some free alternatives for Office, but they are no longer developed or maintained at all. But LibreOffice is not like that. LibreOffice has an active community of developers that always strive to make it a better piece of software day by day, basically. And it's really amazing. I've been having a lot more fun using LibreOffice compared to Microsoft Office, because believe it or not, Microsoft Office actually doesn't run as well on lower end hardware. Now, I'm not saying that my hardware is lower end, but it's pretty much on par with that. I do have 8 gigs of RAM and such, but in today's day and age, it's not enough, but it is usable if you have the right set of tools. One really cool thing is actually interoperability or compatibility, if you will. So what I mean by that is that you can pretty much make a document with LibreOffice, and someone who's using Microsoft Office can most likely open it, because LibreOffice has their own implementation of the XML standard or OOXML that Microsoft uses. Because Microsoft were okay, let's make a proprietary extension that you can open only using Microsoft Office. And what the team decided to do was hey, let's make our own implementation and let's just try opening a lot of documents. You actually might have seen a lot of people showing you how to install Microsoft fonts into your Linux system, and it helps with compatibility because a lot of documents that you may open are most likely written using Microsoft Word or Excel, and a lot of these programs have their own proprietary fonts that are simply not available within Linux. Pretty much another really cool thing is that if you're using LibreOffice, you can save your documents using the open document format, which is really cool. You can pretty much open it on any device. There are also applications for your Android smartphone, for example, that let you view and edit open document formats, which really helps a lot. It also helps with the fact that if you're using just a Raspberry Pi as your main computer, you're most likely using LibreOffice. Now, the next point I want to get across is actually future-proofing. Future-proofing is something that, that is really important for me personally, because if there is a piece of software that won't get updated, I just won't use it, because I'm worried that there might be some sort of security flaw. But the really cool thing, at least compared to Microsoft Office, is that you have all these versions of Microsoft Office, like Office 2007, 2012, 2010, that's what I meant, then 2016, then Office 365, and I think that the only mostly updated version of Office that is still being released is Office 365, and pretty much any version like Office 2016, it's like dead, bro. It's dead. Compared it to LibreOffice, LibreOffice is still supported from day one. You get the latest updates, latest versions. They have a really neat notification to let you know, hey, there's a new update, something new has been added, which really is helpful considering that a lot of people are worried that their software just may not be up to spec, and it really helps out a lot. Because you don't have to think about it at all. Basically, you can pretty much leave your documents, your texts saved on your computer on a external hard drive, forget about them, and if you need them sometime in the future, you can rest assured that you will be able to open them no matter what, which is really cool. Because I personally had an experience that there was a piece of someone sent me like a piece of text from like a older version of Office, and once I opened it, it was like broken. I was like, okay, which version are you using? They're like 2004, and I'm like, actually was it 2007? I'm not really sure, it was like a long time ago, but still I wasn't able to like open it in my newer version of Office, because it's just, well, the things that were under the hood were totally changed, so I wasn't able to do anything about that, which is really bad. Another cool thing is that it's open source. Now, it may not seem as much, like to the regular Joe or Brittany, but for those of us who really care about security and, who want like a stable experience that won't like destroy our lives, it makes it an obvious choice for us to use a piece of software that will always be rid of proprietary technologies, because the thing is that if you have something proprietary, chances are it's going to get more broken as time goes on, and even though you are proprietary, you will always find vulnerabilities in that. Whereas if you have a piece of open source software like LibreOffice, if there is any sort of bug or any sort of like vulnerability discovered, it gets patched pretty much right away. Everyone gets the patch, everyone gets the latest versions, and it's really cool. Now, I already mentioned the support for formats, but the support is actually much better. You can use the built-in open document formats, but there are a lot more other formats that you can open. You can open non-standard formats like docx, as mentioned before. You can pretty much open any format there is of any text document, and LibreOffice should be able to open it. I personally have been loving the experience so far, and that's pretty much all the parts I have to cover. I love LibreOffice. I use it now to write a lot of scripts and documents and texts and articles. And I actually have switched my mother recently to LibreOffice. It was about 3 to 4 months ago, because we were sick of just constantly reinstalling Office, and she ended up liking it a lot. In fact, she ended up learning LibreOffice faster in a shorter time span than Microsoft Office, even though our family is known to be using just Microsoft Office products, like Microsoft products. For example, I am running Linux, my brother is running Linux, but my mother and father are both running Windows, which is fine. It's like we were trying to get them to use Linux, but they just don't want to, which makes sense. They're of the older generation, and there's no point in forcing someone of their comfort zone if they don't want to. So we were like, okay, you know what, let's just me and you use Linux and just see how far we can go, and I never look back. So yeah, that's pretty much the conclusion to this video. Now there are a lot more reasons that people have told me about that they use LibreOffice and what their reasons are for using, but I decided to compile them into this list. It wasn't in any particular order whatsoever. I just wanted to, get this out there, as a simple little video. It's a bit of a newer style, so if you end up liking this, make sure to let me know. If there's something else you want me to talk about, I'll be really happy to do so. And make sure to let me know why you use LibreOffice or Microsoft Office, and if you're not using that, what do you use instead? I'll be really eager to know and try new pieces of software that may end up changing my workflow in a better way or a worse way, but it's all up to you. And on that note, I thank all of you for watching. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I will catch all of you in the next video.